this whole conversation got started actually as a project that I was working on, and so we had a group of people that were doing some social media analytics, and they were really interested in charts. And so uh, they just wanted some cool visualizations to kind of go along with it, and so I pressed a little bit further and really started to discover things not even just about social media analytics, but about analytics in general. So as we look at this presentation, as we go through, we're going to talk about the why behind it, and we'll also get down into the what. And I only have 20 minutes, so I'll be brief on some of the things that I usually elaborate on, but we'll post everything. We'll post the workbook and all that to the blog, and so this will all be available afterward. So we'll go ahead and get started, and I'm gonna be kind of cheesy, and we're gonna do the stereotypical presentation starter of the definition, because I think it really ties into what we'll talk about today with actually listening. So Webster's definition dictionary defines listen as to pay attention, one, to hear something with thoughtful attention, two, or to be alert to catch an unexpected sound. So like listen for his step. So all those things I thought really were convenient and really tied into how we listen to the voice of people, as well as kind of listen to the data. And so we'll talk about each of those things. So we're going to talk about the power of the human voice. So as we know, everyone has a voice. And let me introduce myself again. Christopher Scott. I'm a data visualization architect and team lead. I'm also a Tableau ambassador. I'm wearing my Tableau swag right now. You can find me again at CG Scott DVA. I didn't want to take too much time introducing myself because of the meat of this presentation. So everybody from clients to customers to employees, everyone has a voice. Everyone wants to be heard. We know that Tableau and us in this community really value the voices of one another. They value the voice of the community, and so people want to be heard. I discovered a book as I was doing some research on this when I first got started, and it's called A World Gone Social. So everywhere people are doing, we just heard on the last presentation about survey data. So oftentimes companies will use surveys to kind of get some information, try to gain impact, do some analysis based on that. Well, that's kind of how people used to do analytics and listen to people. Now we've got great channels. One of the most important ones is Twitter. We see things like Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook all going going above and beyond to give people an avenue to express their opinions, to talk, to give their voice some volume there. So anyway, this was a great book that I read as I was doing some research on this topic, and there's some quotes that I really found were helpful as we start to think through how to listen to people. So this quote right here, there's a few quick quotes. Consumers want to discuss what they like, the companies they support, and the organizations and leaders they resent. They want a community. They want to be heard. So the good and the bad, they want to be heard either way. Consumers now demand that businesses become a compelling experience, which moves the power from the executive boardroom, where decisions used to be made, to the living rooms of everyday consumers. Or you could put in there the smartphones of everyday consumers. This is not entirely different from what employees now demand too. Both consumers and employees are telling us how, where, and when they want to work with us. They are better informed, they expect more, and certainly they have the voice to make a strong impact. So I think that's all really, really beneficial and valuable to have that that strong impact on the way we do business, the way we create visualizations. All of these things are critical when we're trying to do business. So we have two choices in this, and they're kind of the old way of doing things and the new way. Even with the new way, we're still conflicted here, because we can passively listen. We could scroll down an entire list of Twitter, a whole Facebook feed, and all over the place. So we could we could passively listen to these voices, or we could choose to engage. We could get in there, get our hands dirty, and actually listen and participate, share our voice, share what we're about, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But as I was kind of putting together this presentation and I was doing this research, I realized there's one company that does this extremely well, and actually let me talk about this really quickly. So we can by choice help inform, educate, and teach people about what we do, what we stand for, and how we plan to change their lives. So back to the company that does this extremely well, and I may be a little bit biased because we've already talked about it. It's the supporter of this event, and it is Tableau. Tableau does an incredible job of listening to their customers, listening to their community, and even driving the technology that we use based on the information that they listen and they engage with. So the community, those of you that attended the Tableau customer conference back in October know that the conference was all about the people. They listened. They took into account all of the voice of their customers, of their community, all of these things, and they made one of the best conferences, hands down, of all other conferences. 15,000 plus people in attendance, just an incredible amount of people, and it was all driven by the voice of us in the community. The user groups. So as we kind of drill down from the big 15,000 person people in attendance down to the local user groups. And me being a user group leader, I know that we greatly value the voice of everybody within our group. And Tableau takes this and they support and they give avenues and things like that to have each of their customers connected and joined together from that perspective. Social media. I know that Tableau is extremely active on social media. They not only listen and look at what's going on in social media, they also engage. I know there was a few things after conference that were being talked about that I know will be talked about again during this festival. But Tableau was right there, engaging with the conversation, listening, and being active and proactive and reactive at times. But I mean, they just do such an incredible job and in such a great model of how they use this. And even I'll have to give a shout out to Michelle Wallace, who was working with some of the social media at Tableau. And she actually did a presentation, if you want to look back at TC16, on some of these similar concepts that I promise we did them in parallel. They were none of them were stolen off of one another, but I thought it was so great that these ideas that I was kind of researching and doing, Tableau was already putting into practice. So I think it's a really great example of a company that's listening to their customers, listening to the technology world, listening to really the voice of the people. So we'll talk about, so data also has a story to tell. And so, we look at things like spreadsheets and we say, how can we listen to a spreadsheet with all of these numbers present? And I think that's a really good point, and a really good point for a lot of business users, is they're trying to listen and tell a story with data, but they can't do it when all they've got is a spreadsheet. So that's where we come up with these ways, these visualizations, to help to listen, to look into, and engage with the data itself. So that's just one way that we can we can say, okay, well, what region is the most profitable? We ask these questions and we listen for an answer. Well, we can't really tell that from just a spreadsheet, so we have to use visual analytics and the practices behind there. So, and again, the beauty of data visualization helps us to be able to tell and listen to the story. So let's look back again at social media. So again, the new way of listening to people, without having to ask them or do a survey or conduct any kind of actual physical asking of people face to face, is actually looking on social media. This is where the voice of the client and customer has the ability to make a strong impact. And whether they realize it or not, they are extremely powerful. And it's up to us whether we harness this power or not. So the story of social, like Emily said, has as the 5 key questions of good journalism, right? The who, the where, the when, and the what. And all of those really drive us down to why they're saying it. So as we do any good amount of social media analytics and we look at the data behind it, we want to make sure that we have these questions. And so one of the great things that Tableau has introduced is the native connector. Well, they do it through the web data connector, but it's a native connector into the Twitter public API. So this is a great way that if you're researching any subject, any customers, clients, anything like that, we can look into and drive some analysis. We can look at the who's saying it, what are they saying, where are they saying it, when are they saying it, and all of this drives us into why are they speaking about a product or a disease or anything like this, and help us to really drive some action, like we talked about earlier about engaging with them. So we need to be able to drive action with the data, and we do that by using social media, by using these channels. So this is where we come into how we use Tableau. Now, the first visualization here, and I'll break into Tableau in here in just a second, but the first visualization here is kind of the stock social media template. You can find this all over Twitter. You can find this on Tableau Public. I'll be glad to share these on Tableau Public. They're actually up there right now. I'll share these, but this is kind of the stock template. It shows us the who, the when, what they're saying, and and what platform they're using. But I wanted to take it a little bit further and drill down and use some of Tableau's out-of-the-box tools to be able to help us determine what they're actually saying, so the content of their message, which will hopefully allow us to do some sentiment analysis to determine why they're saying it. And so we'll jump in here, and I will switch over to my Tableau desktop. And as you see here, we've got the stock template here, and we can look here and we can say, okay, and we'll use the United States because we have a lot of data. We could also see here, okay, well, it looks like in Peru, there's actually a lot of conversation going on. Now, this is some older data that I took, some stock data, and I just did a quick search with the web data connector for Trump, and that was it. And so I got a lot of different results, regardless how you feel on which side. The fact of the matter is that people are talking. And so if we want to listen, we want to engage with people, I just wanted to find a subject that a lot of people were talking about. So good or bad, regardless of the sentiment, people are talking about it. And so therefore, we have a lot of data to be able to mine through. And in fact, there was a Makeover Monday done a few months ago on just this, using some data pulled from the Twitter API on Donald Trump tweets. So we've got this information, and we can start to do some analytics, even with a very simple template like this for social media. So as we click down into the different groups, using Tableau's actions to be able to tell us what is being said, when it is being said. And let me move this. If you can see it, I'm sorry. If you can't, then it's just me. But we can see where it's being said. We can tell when these tweets are actually happening. We can see the actual status text of what was being said, how many retweets and things like that. And then we can see across. And so if we're marketing to a specific country and we're using certain marketing platforms on certain devices, then we can start to see, okay, Twitter gives us this information. So this is all a gold mine of data that we can determine how we want to focus our advertising, how we want to focus our marketing for specific countries, for specific devices, and use these things. So like I said, I wasn't done here. I wanted to get down into the what of the data, so that would help me determine the why. So as I did this, I said, okay, we've got the status text. So we actually have the content of the message here. So we've got a lot of these tweets. And I'm thinking, I want to know what they're saying. What are some keywords? Well, Tableau doesn't natively do this out of the box. So when I went to create, I said I want to create a word cloud that's going to tell me what are some popular words that are coming up over and over and over again. And with that, I said, okay, I need another tool. So I know Brian is going to talk next about using Alteryx and Tableau to do some more in-depth analytics. And so I actually jumped into Alteryx. I'm not an Alteryx expert, but I knew enough that Excel was not allowing me to do a text to rows. It would allow me to do a text to columns, but that didn't tie back the analytics. It gave me the words, fantastic, but doing a text to rows actually allowed me to tie back each individual word with the originating tweet. So now, as you can see, I was able to not only get a nice word cloud, but I could actually go in and say, okay, well, if we've got these words, we can now see how often each of these words was done in a tweet. But what's more, we can drive in and actually say what was done on that particular time and get the original source tweet. So we can see, who was saying it, when were they saying it, get all of that information based on those keywords, based on those sentiments. So I'm not doing anything groundbreaking, anything earth-shattering here with any sort of Tableau wizardry tips and tricks. You all are more than happy to come in and reverse engineer all of this, see how I created all of these things. So I'm happy to share that. But going back, I mean, this is not anything that's difficult, but it is a way for us to use the tools that we have, the tools that are natively in Tableau, even bringing in a quick Alteryx text to rows calculation, and create some very valuable analytics that will help us to drive that and drive those analytics to show the who, the what, the where, and the when, that helps us determine why are people talking, why are they saying what they're saying. So that is the end of my presentation. Again, as we listen to people, we really want to listen and harness the power of the tools that we have available. And I am available for any questions. I want to see if there was a Q&A. There's a chat, and all right. Not seeing anything in the Q&A. Emily, anything?
No, but I think that was really helpful. I think it's always helpful when we can kind of put a little definition around. One of the things that I loved about your presentation was putting definition around and really prompting us to think about, okay, so what are people saying? And then you can figure out the answer to that. Why, and the what, the when, and then you can say, why are they saying that, and really delve into it. So I think giving those prompts or those guideposts are really helpful, because your visualization will be better as a result, instead of
That's
just
right.
kind of throwing something out there. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one last thing I want to say is that, Adam mentioned do not fear AI. So, I mean, right now, there's a lot of tools out there that will provide the who, the what, the where, the when, but it's up to us as analysts to really delve into the why.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And
Yes.
we really appreciate your time and sharing your message today.
Yep. Thank you.